if I kick us off, Jason, Eric?
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. So, hey everybody, welcome to our exclusive September webinar. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's Emily. I'm Nevadic's Training and Enablement Lead. However, unlike our normal webinars, I will actually not be your host for today's session. I am super excited because today we're joined by two exceptional product marketers and interactive demo experts. Today we have Jason Oakley and Eric Holland from DemoDash. So welcome. Thank you both so much for joining.
Thanks
Um,
for having me.
yeah, we're so excited. If you are not familiar with DemoDash, Jason and Eric are incredible storytellers, product marketers, and partners to Nevadic. And I'll let them share a little bit more about how the DemoDash agency can support your team. But we have loved collaborating with these guys from advising us in Nevadic's early days to co-creating a best practices course for PMMs, which you guys should all check out. And now here we are hosting a live session together. So very excited for this. And Jason and Eric bring expertise in building creative interactive demos that really stand out from the crowd. And we're so grateful to have them here. I know this session will be super valuable, not only for all of you, but also for myself, and I'm sure some of the other internal Nevadic folks that are here as well. So with that, I would love to hand it over to Eric and Jason to kick us off today.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen and I'll do the classic. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Got it. All right, sweet. Hey everyone. Yeah, Emily, thanks for the intro, and it's awesome to be on here. Eric and I were just talking about how we basically today's webinar is essentially what Eric and I do every Wednesday. We talk about interactive demo examples and best practices. So we're excited to come on today. And it says 10 creative ways. I think it's actually 12, and I think there's probably multiple examples on some of those slides. So it's a lot of creative ways to elevate your interactive demos. And Eric and I, if you're not familiar with us, we are two product marketers, like Emily said, and we love interactive demos. And we created an agency called DemoDash, and we exclusively work with Nevadic customers to help them build interactive demos. We used to always refer to them as remarkable interactive demos, the ones that get your customers to really say, wow, that is, it catches their attention. It tells a great story around your product, gets them to want to buy, and allows them to get behind the wheel. And anyone here who uses interactive demos, or at least considering it, understands that that's a big part of and a big benefit of interactive demos. But what we find and what we found when talking with a lot of people using Nevadic is they have all these great ideas, but sometimes, I don't know, product marketers, you get busy and there is a lot on your plate. And so we work with Nevadic customers that have a lot of big ideas and a lot of ways they want to use interactive demos, but they don't have the time to bring it to life. So we are a team that can come in and help you do that. So we're never too busy to build your interactive demos, although you might sometimes be. We also like to call ourselves the Dash Brothers. We're working on this new profile pic, as you can see below, thanks to Eric and his amazing Photoshop skills. Eric, did I miss anything?
No, other than I was trying to play it like that was real and not photoshopped. But I think
Ah,
I think the high level quality was telling in itself, but you nailed it. And yeah, we're just really happy to be here and yeah, run through some of our best practices and what we think makes a really awesome demo. So
exactly.
yeah, let's go
And
ahead and jump in.
And yeah, and before we do, the reason we have so many of these examples is we write a newsletter. It comes out every Wednesday or every Tuesday, and it's called Show Don't Tell. And we basically share three product or interactive demo examples every week, and tied into them is what they do that's stands out in some way. So there's like best practices and tips associated with them. So if you want like a constant stream of inspiration, subscribe to the newsletter. But if you scan that QR code, you'll also get our swipe file, which has over 120 different examples. And so open that up anytime you're going to work on an interactive demo, and it'll give you that spark of inspiration. All right, let's get into our first example here. Eric, take it away.
Yeah, all right, everyone. So I know, whichever camp you're in, you may want to gate your demos on the front end. Some people are putting them in the middle now, and some wait till the end. And we saw this really cool thing from Nicholas Wealth. So if you do want to gate it on the front end, don't just take their data and send it over to sales. Actually, go ahead and use that and take it a step further. So what they did, Jason signed up, gave him his info, and it immediately populated into a "Hey Jason" moment. And so you're not only just getting their information, but I think it's an opportunity to give them something back with this little bit of personalization. And so, yeah, at any point in time, if you have to gate up front, really easy tip, just go ahead and add that that high name feature from Novatic.
They also too, what we really liked here is if you look in the top left is the welcome Jason Oakley. So they even like personalize the dashboard itself, like the UI, the screen capture, which is really cool because it makes it seem like, wow, they put this dashboard or this, analytic screen together just for me, which is really cool. All right. Don't leave CTAs until the end. So a couple of examples here around this. So for a lot of people we work with, their main goal is to drive usually either like a free trial sign up or an in-person demo, like a sales demo from their interactive demos. It's like the next logical step. And a lot of times they leave that until the end. So you wait until the end of your demo, say it's a 15-step demo. Not everyone makes it there. And so that is sometimes your only opportunity to convert people off a demo. What we say is don't leave CTAs till the end. So you can see an example here of people using the sticky bar, right? So this is Guru, this is an example from their interactive demos. And it gives you the opportunity to convert them on every single step. So use the sticky bar. We've started using that with all of our interactive demos where put the sticky bar at the top. At any point in time, whenever they reach that aha moment, the call to action is there for them. Another example is what we refer to as what's the word I'm looking for?
Side
Off-ramp.
quest?
An
Oh,
off-ramp.
off
Side
ramp.
quest is a good one, but off-ramp. So essentially an off-ramp is partway through the demo. You can see an example of it here with Mixpanel, right? So this is partway through their demo. Usually when you're reaching that aha moment. So when you deliver some sort of like value and you show how it works, right? Then when they reach that moment where they're likely like, oh, wow, I get this. I might want to take that next step. You kind of give them that off ramp and you say, hey, do you want to continue the tour or do you want to take the next step to either sign up for free or book an in-person, like a customized demo? And so give them that off ramp, add the sticky bar CTA, both good options for being able to not wait until the end to convert them.
Yeah, I love that one. All right, so guys, real quick here, set a little bit of context. We don't try to show most of our clients examples because we really are looking for more stuff out in the wild. But this one here from Notion we pulled in because, a lot of us are using AI now, and a lot of us unfortunately are either stuck with showing a still screen or trying to come up with some creative way to show how the AI works. So what we did here was actually just screen capture a video in 4K and then use that instead of the HTML or the standard screenshot that you would use. And then so now we're running through an actual workflow with the AI. You get to see how it's working and how the actual experience would be if you were to actually use it as opposed to just a static image or an HTML capture. So immediately what we realized was this is one of probably the more impressive demos we made because things like it's making you stop throughout it instead of just clicking. And it really is impressive to see something happen live when you're kind of in that mix of static. Jason, you got any other feedback on this?
No, I really love this one. I think we're seeing this too a lot with like, we did it with like Vizier 2 is a good example where now when you're trying to show like agents and AI doing their thing, it really helps when you can just one of the best ways to show it in action is to have it kind of the mix motion graphics and like video in with your interactive demo. So love this. This is all Eric. All right, every story needs characters. So one thing that we're starting to see more in a lot of the demos that we find and love is this idea of introducing a main character, right? Like introducing your target persona. And before I continue, I see a lot of questions popping in. I don't see the question feed. So Eric, stop me, or Emily, stop me if there's a relevant question. If it's just people giving good shout outs and nice comments, then that's great too. But stop me. Don't worry about stopping me to ask a question.
Yeah, Jason, we do have two. Is there a drop off in people continuing after the off ramp? Is one from Taylor. Thanks, Taylor.
Yeah, it's a good question. We don't have the data, but I would assume like if you offer an off ramp, you would expect us ideally if it works, you would expect a certain amount of drop off. But I assume your question is like, does that interrupt people and then they leave the demo and do nothing? And it's a good question. We don't have we don't have data on that. Yeah. I don't know if Novatic does, and anyone wants to, Natalie, I think you might be on the call too, but that is a good follow-up that we can look for some information on. Yeah. Cool. All right. Every story needs characters. So like I said, one of the things we always say to anyone who's creating an interactive demo is like, be very clear on who your target audience is, right? So when you know very specifically who this demo is meant for, and a lot of times it's to show some type of end user what using your product is going to be like. And so a lot of the demos that we really like are the ones that introduce this persona, this character up front. And so you can see here with John, the operator, you can see here with Allison, right? And even if with each of these, it's kind of teeing up, hey, you are this person. Let us show you what it allows the buyer to step into their shoes and see what a day in the life of using your product might be like. And what I really like is even if you can add some stakes. So love this example here where they introduced technician Robert, but one of the first steps this is step number 1. It's just very simple. It says code red, a robot is down on line 2. Eric, you found this one and you loved it. And
Love this one.
It was cool because it's very good. It starts off the story. You're kind of like invested and you want to know what's going on. But it introduces Robert and it introduces the stakes or the problem in a cool way. So I think if you can do that, if you can add characters and you can build in a story, I think it makes your demo that much more engaging.
Yeah, and Jason, one more thing on those, and it kind of ties into then the next slides too, is the general theme that we've seen and we really want to help with any of our clients is that storytelling aspect. Because if you go look at 10 demos, doesn't matter who they're built by, you tend to see a lot of like feature focus and like here's this thing to do this thing. And so if you jump in and just add a character naturally, it's going to help you with that storytelling aspect because you're forced now to tell how this real human or fictional would do something with your product instead of just here's what this feature does and here's why you should use it.
Yeah.
And then tying into this next one using the barbecue copy here. So Litho, really like was one of the first ones where I was like, wow, that's impressive. I really like this. We're gonna steal this. And like even that bottom half, spicy tip, you can add assets directly from the Litho DAM with our integrated platform, right? Like they're just using very common vernacular. And if you know who Emma Stratton is, she's kind of put this whole barbecue language into my head. And we try to use that with our clients as appropriate. And then, of course, brand voice will dictate from there. And then the next one here from Checker, just love this because not only are they using very common vernacular, they jump right in instead of kind of giving you this fluffy intro. They're like, this is what we're going to do over this next 2-minute intro, 2-minute demo with let's run a background check. So you don't always have to have this big, gaudy intro that keeps things a little bit vague. You can just, keep it casual, like you're walking up to someone at a barbecue.
Love it. Kind of a continuation to that, set expectations up front. Expectations in terms of how long it's going to be and expectations in terms of what they're going to see. So I love this example here from Vizier. This is actually if you are on their website. So even the call to action to get people to take your demo, if you hovered over take a tour, this button on their website, you actually saw this slide out. Hopefully it's still there if anyone wants to go to their site and check it out. But then it would say 2 minutes self-guided. So right away, you know how long it's going to take. And it's self-guided and you're going to get to kind of take the reins. And because not everyone is used to an interactive demo, like that might be the first time they've seen one. And so setting that stage up front makes it more likely that they're like, okay, it's only going to take me 2 minutes and I set the pace. So, okay, I'll check it out. Another example would be this one here from Kit. And they right up front, they're saying, in this 2-minute interactive demo. So again, very simple. And the button down here says start the 2-minute demo. It's just setting clear expectations over how long it's going to take you. It's not going to take you that long. And then also they're talking about like, here's what you're going to see in this demo. Another great example here of just like listing out, hey, here's what we're going to show you in this demo, right? And setting those expectations just kind of like lowers people's barrier to be like, okay, I know how long it's going to take me. I know what I'm going to see. All right, let's do this.
Right. And one of my personal near and dear to my heart is the demo center, but more importantly, the best one that I think we've ever seen. And so this is coming from Close. And there's a few things I want to call out here. So when you guys are building, interactive demos, one of the key things that we find is there's normally multiple use cases, multiple personas that need to be involved here, which yields you needing to build multiple demos and then organize them, package them in a way that's easy to find and work with. And so that's what a demo center is. And what Close has been able to do is really add some personality here. So if you get to their site, you can immediately tell there's some real tender love and care that was put into this from a brand perspective. They've even named it Demo Site, which I love. If you put all this work into creating a demo center, don't just call it your company's demo center. Give it a little bit of extra personality here. Also, from a navigation perspective, they did a great job into kind of giving you an overview tour up front, just a little bit of taste, and then trickling down the page, being able to give each persona and each use case its own little navigation. So you're not, sorting through, let's call it 30 tours. You can really pick around and find the ones that make sense for you. And lastly, when you think about a demo center and how they built it specifically, it really works as kind of this full funnel piece of content where if built right, you can do everything from the champion and user perspective, get them excited about the product, weave in the value in certain tours later, and then even have specific persona tours that might be for other influencers and stakeholders that aren't in the product day to day. So really just love everything about this from Close.
Yeah, they crushed it with this. You go to close.com, and I believe the link's right in their top nav to go check this out. It's definitely worth putting in your swipe file, especially if you're going to build an interactive demo center, which we suggest everyone do. Let them build their own experience. So this is actually a feature in Novatic. So for all you Novatic users watching, this idea of what they call interest demos and the ability to put this type of form, it could be in the first step of your demo. It doesn't necessarily have to be. You could have a couple intro steps and then show them this form. But it allows people to, if you look at this one here, for example, right? It has a lot of different features, right? So there's a lot to show people. And if you were to add up all the steps in these different demo flows, it would probably be pretty large. And so to throw all this at someone, it's a lot to expect of them. But there are likely things that they're specifically interested in. Maybe like key features that they'd want to see, or maybe it's use cases that they want to see and care about. And so the cool thing about these interest forms is you can add this upfront in your demo. People can check off what matters most to them. You get that data, which is pretty helpful, right? And so you're able to see what buyers are most interested in, what parts of your whole kind of platform tour are most popular, most interesting to people. And so that's stuff you can learn from. But then also the demo experience gets tailored to those specific things they check off. So, after they check these and they hit let's go, their demo experience is only going to show them those things that they care about. And so there's some flexibility with that too, because maybe you want to have those other ones there as options if they want to, and that's totally fine. You can do that. But if you really do want to tailor the demo experience to them, these interest forms and these interest demos are a great way to do it. So definitely check that out if you're using Novatic.
Hey, Jason, we have another good question on the interest specifically.
Yep.
That Matt's saying he's seen great early success with letting users build their own experience. Do you have any experience with adoption dropping if there are too many options?
Adoption drop it. So usually, I guess simple answer is no. If there are too many options, I would say, a lot of before things like interest demos, a lot of times we would say it's great to have an interactive demo center because every demo, someone can come to the page and they can pick, right? Shorter demos in an interactive demo center. It makes it easy for people to kind of choose their own adventure. What I like about these is they can essentially curate their own adventure. And so with these, I almost think it makes it a little bit easier and less overwhelming to have everything packaged into one big mega demo, as I sometimes think of it as. And so I don't know if having multiple different demos, say nested in a checklist, hurts the engagement of the demo. I would say the more you have, probably the less engagement you have per demo flow. But at the end of the day, not everyone cares about every single little feature in that checklist. And so the beauty of this is that you allow them to just kind of pick the ones they care about, versus looking at a huge list and having to find, basically having to kind of choose the one in the checklist. So yeah, simple answer is I don't have the data, but the thinking that we have around this is that, yeah, if you make it easier for them to, as you said, like kind of build their own experience, curate their own demo, it just makes it so that what they do curate, they're that much more likely to consume the whole thing. Eric, anything to add there?
No, I think you nailed it.
Thanks, buddy. All right.
All right. So we have got a cool one here. We're looking through these and found an SDR intro. So normally in a welcome step, you might have just some words that kind of tee up the demo, but instead we actually have an SDR, or you could obviously have an AE do it too, who welcomed you to the demo and also kind of set the stage of what you'd expect over this next 2 minutes of going through it. And we really like it because one, we're humans talking to humans here. So it always gives that extra personal touch, especially if the next step is to go ahead and talk to that SDR or that AE. Not only are you putting a face to a name, but you're actually getting kind of a first intro before you get to meet the person. And I personally felt going through it that it removed this cold outreach feeling that you'd kind of get when you just get shipped a piece of content out of nowhere. So in general, just a really nice way to take the edge off and build a relationship before you've even met the prospect.
Yeah, I like that. And another example I saw too, Vitally. So Vitally has it on theirs, and on their website they have a lot of interactive demos that they share with like customers as well. And so I believe it's like CSMs who do some of these opening videos, and it's a good way to introduce customers to your CSM who they might be working with, which is another cool way to do it. All right.
And I see Jason real quick. It looks like we got a question from, is it Shannon? Shannon? Could be Shannon. Do you suggest this to be features or the use case they are trying to solve?
Maybe
And
for
I'm
this one.
thinking, yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably for that one.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like this is part of your kind of demo strategy when you think of, hey, how do we want to organize our demos? I like use case because people are coming, especially if they're not as familiar with their product, your product. Maybe they don't understand individual features, right? Like that's not how they're thinking about it yet. They're thinking about it as use case. Um, I'm trying to think of if we think back of the demos that we've worked on, I think we probably usually lean more towards use case. And so I think it's a question of when people come, are the features pretty obvious? And your buyer coming to your interactive demo, are they thinking in terms of, I want to see these features? Or are they usually coming in and thinking in terms of use case? And so my gut would say use case is probably what I'd lean towards, but for you, it might be feature.
Yeah, I think like a good example might be Notion, Jason, like an AI note taker. A lot of
Right.
that is like, okay, I know what an AI note taker is, so we have to do a little bit less, you know, what is this feature explaining, but the story itself is still wrapped around the use case. So yeah, again, I think he nailed it. It's kind of up to you on the strategy, and you can set it both ways. But in general, I think both Jason and I would lean heavier towards the use case as opposed to just feature listing.
Yeah. This one here, make your demo the next logical step. So the general idea here is piggyback off existing content that you have. So a lot of times where we see product marketers kind of running into roadblocks is when it feels like they're asking people to replace something with an interactive demo. So like video would be a big one. They're like, oh no, just replace the video with an interactive demo. And some people are really attached to those videos and they don't want to do that. And so how can you piggyback off existing content? So a couple of examples are like one of the things we're starting to recommend to people, and some are actually doing, is if you have a video on your site and it's the video is more of a high level explainer and there's no way that they're taking that down. How can you piggyback off it? So if you use something like Wistia, you can put calls to action in your demo. So how do you make the interactive demo the next logical step to that more high level explainer video? Another example would be this one here, where Trainual on their website, they have an ROI calculator. And so a piece of content like a tool or a resource that they give their customers, but the call to action for the interactive demos right next to it, because that's the next logical step. You see the ROI, you're like, oh, how do I do this in Trainual? And so the interactive demos, that's next step. Other examples are like in your blog posts. If you can embed interactive demos in your blog post, if you can add it to downloads or even like follow-up content. So Notion's another example. After people do a webinar with Notion, they actually build a Notion page with Notion sites and they send them this page that has like, I think the recording and some follow-up information, and then they link to the interactive demo on that page. So if you're thinking about like, how do I distribute demos? And it's hard for me to find real estate and all that. You could actually get creative with, okay, how can I piggyback off other content that's shared throughout the sales cycle or the buyer journey and make the interactive demo the next logical step? So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think we're over the last, month or so, Jason, we've really started to push that more and more.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this next one here, end with proof, not promises. So we all know at the end of the tour, your goal, like Jason just said, is likely to get them to book a demo. So what better way than to give them a little extra fuel and a little extra urgency by setting up some testimonials, some proof points. And so I really love it because one, you've got the real estate to put something here, right? So this one is from AppQs, but it's very similar to the previous where you've got the space so you can add these points. Um, I think personally, instead of leaving it blank, right, it does give kind of that moment delight, that visual difference than probably what you had the slide before. And it gets people to just stop, take a pause, take a breath, and hopefully hit that CTA. So I really love it as a trust building mechanism as they wrap up and are trying to decide what's their next move.
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't build a website or a landing page or a homepage without proof. And I think we need to start thinking about interactive demos in that way too, where the more that you can build proof points into the interactive demo, the better. And it doesn't have to be at the end either. We've seen some cool examples of people who put it midway through and maybe like provide a link to a case study and those sorts of things. So yeah, big fan of this one.
Love that.
So this one I'm really into now, especially when you're thinking of things like interest demos or even just like having checklists in your demo where people can jump to different parts of your product and all that. Don't assume everyone knows how demos work. So not everyone is familiar with interactive demos. And what I really like, and I saw it here with Bloomfire or Bloomreach, things in the way, Bloomfire. They basically have a step. This step, the one in the top left, comes second step in their demo. And it's just like the instruction manual for the demo itself. So it just says you control the pace, click back or next at any time. You can jump to a different section of the tour at any time from the get started menu in the bottom right corner. It is a very simple, like just a simple message, but right away it is going to remove a lot of confusion for people who are like, okay, how do I get back to this checklist? Or, oh, I saw it pop up at one point. Like, how do I get there? It's just making it very clear for them. And so what I would do is when this step here is showing, I would have the checklist button showing in the bottom right. And then when they hit next, I fly that checklist up so that they can see, oh, here are all the demos I can choose from. And it's a great way to just make it really clear for people. And if you can remove that confusion, it's just going to improve your chances to get people to actually do the demo. So yeah, that one's a new one that we're starting. I saw it probably we saw that like 3 weeks ago, and
Yep.
now we're starting to add it to our demos.
All right. And then we've got more about gates. And if you know anything about me, I'm not a huge gate fan, full disclosure, but I absolutely love this one. Okay. So Liquid Base didn't just drop in a form. They went the extra mile here, and I really appreciate it because one, it stopped me. I was like, wow, this is cool. It also is giving that piece, like I talked about earlier, about adding some trust to the whole message. They've got not only, the trust radius stuff, the Gartner type stuff you can put on there, but an actual quote from a real person using the product. And really, I felt more inclined to give them my business email to get to check out this demo than any of these other forms and gates that I've seen. And so if you've got the resources, of course, if you don't, that's a whole nother discussion. But if you can make just that little bit extra, your prospects are going to feel it. Then they're hopefully going to be more inclined to give you that information and start that experience with a really good taste in their mouth, as opposed to just a standard form that, we could have just slapped together in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one's liquid based. Highly recommend checking it out if you got the time. Just keep it in your tool belt.
Yeah. And I know you're a big fan of this, Eric. If you are going to gate, doing the one gate so that you can see all demos versus putting a gate on each individual one. So if you have Novatic JS installed, which we recommend everyone do, then if you set up an experience like this, they only need to see it once, right?
100%. A
Nice.
big fan of one gate to let them all in.
Yep.
And we got a question here, Jason. I'm gonna read it live. Haven't read the full thing yet, but it seems
Sure.
interesting. How can we make the demos more appealing as we work on Microsoft Dynamics, our platform, which is quite technical? I always try to get an inspiration, but all customer showcases on your website are really good in terms of their look and feel. Can you please share some link where the UI looks boring and
Yeah.
you've made it interesting?
That's interesting. I find some of the demos we've done, the UI is very boring.
Yeah.
But like I would go back to this one here, right? Like the UI here is not, you can't see it, but this UI is not very exciting. But I find that through the storytelling part, they've made it exciting, right? And so, um, there are like things you can do when you're editing a screen that makes it less busy. For example, like I'm always a big fan if you have a very busy UI and there's a lot going on to like just remove things that aren't necessary, and you can do that in the Novatic editor pretty easily. And so that just like gives a bit more white space, makes it really, not too hard on the eyes. But I think that if your UI is boring, um, for a lot of cases, there's not much you can do with that. But how do you make the copy, how do you make the storytelling you're doing itself less boring? And I think you can do that by like introducing some stakes, maybe adding some characters, focusing more on the use case and how they're using that boring product versus just like showing off feature by feature a product that's not too sexy.
Yeah, yeah, and a few other tips. I think we don't have them on here, but one is your theme. So one thing that Jason and I really like to do is update the theme of each of our clients so it matches their brand guides and isn't just kind of the templated one that you get when you start up. Also with that, give it some contrast. So let's say you've got a white or a light background on your app. Make sure that your modal and your tooltip has a contrasting color, so something darker that gives
Hmm.
you a little bit of visual appeal. And then within those modals and in those tooltips, you can add videos, you can add GIFs, you can add still images, custom graphics, right? That
Yeah.
really, again, add some oomph to that experience, maybe not to your app directly, and then we have another question that came in earlier about the beacons and the tooltips, like as a potential feature request. We didn't cover that in here. They don't necessarily have an arrow pointing to it, but you can highlight different parts of your demo,
Yeah.
either with like a button that kind of bleeps or an outline that does the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that I think you can make a demo look really impressive, even if your UI is, let's just call it vanilla, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Well said. Um, that's it on our 12 examples there. I'll throw this screen up here again if anyone wants to. I believe the link's probably tossed in the chat there too. But if anyone wants to grab this swipe file so that it has all the examples we covered today, plus 100 or more others. And we're going to continue adding to this thing every week. So when you get this, you're also going to be subscribed to Show Don't Tell, which means every week you'll get our newsletter with 3 new examples and some tips.
Jason, bird brain, real quick. One more
Yep.
thing about making your demos interesting.
Yep.
Some things we've done with even with more exciting UIs, depending on the state of your demo. For example, let's call it the second step. Jason and I like to set some context with the problem. So you can have a custom image that has nothing to do with your product and really talk about like show the problem. Or
Yeah.
we've had other ones that kind of have like you get a ping in Slack and then that gets you directed to the app to go do something. So you can also show other apps and other parts of the workflow within your demo and not stick just to showing your app within the 10 to 15 slides that you do.
Yeah, like with Rapid SOS, you had like a car crash, like a picture of a car crash, right?
Yeah.
And then, or with Notion, you had it pop to a Slack message where your boss asks you a question about what's the latest on this, and the person then has to go figure it out in Notion. So that's
Yep.
a cool example. I mean, a nice tip.
All right. Now, any other
Yeah,
questions?
yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, three just popped in the
Sweet.
Q&A. All right, so we'll go in the order they came in. Katie, in our case, we have a bit of the opposite problem. We have so many features that the UI is a bit cluttered, and it's not so straightforward to find your way around the platform. Do you even recommend interactive demos in such a case? Oh, that's interesting. Jason, I'll go first, and then you
Yep.
can hop in. We haven't actually talked about this directly, so I'm interested to get your take too. Um, in my opinion, I always think like interactive demos would work in this case. You probably need to do a little bit more TLC. So there's like some blur features that you could probably use to kind of take people's attention away from the
Mhm.
crazier, messier stuff that you don't want them to see, and then really direct their eyes back to the stuff that they need to see in that moment. There's also some other cool tips and tricks that you can do inside, or I guess features that you can do inside of Novatic in terms of like actually removing things from the app. So you can hide or even manipulate the code so it deletes it completely, and those things wouldn't even show up for them. So there's a lot of, I think, different ways that you could manipulate your own app to make it look a little bit more presentable, or at least hit home in the way that you're trying to have it resonate.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of deleting or hiding things. Like if I go in and there's a notification pop up, right? And you've got some little icon there, or you've got like some call out bar that's about like sign up for our beta or anything like that. By default, I'm just always deleting those things. Because they have nothing to do with what you're trying to demo. And so in a lot of cases, yeah, if it's a super busy screen, um, just remove things. I'm a big fan of that. Even like, another simple, like practical thing is if your menu bar, like on the left side for your product is super busy, just remove it. Because it's not like you're demoing your menu bar, right? You're just demoing the part of the product you want to show them. So if you do find there are things that you could cut out of a demo and it wouldn't make an impact in terms of helping them understand the product, then try it. Um, yeah.
Got another one here from Shannon on a liquid base example. Is that an image or a modal? So that's like a custom form that they set up on the front end. So truthfully, I don't know how they did it. I would probably after getting this question, I'm a little bit interested myself. But that was a custom form that they set up and then placed as the intro step.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if you think of like different ways to put forms on in your demos, you could use Novatic's native form builder. You could there's an option in a Novatic tour, you can embed, say, a Marketo form. Or you could just have the page on your website where you embed or show the demo, and you could just put a form on top of that page, right? Gate that page essentially. I feel like that's what they're doing. Like that is what they're doing with that one. And then you have all kinds of flexibility with how you style the form and all that. Um, and uh, and so that is likely what they're doing.
And then we got one here from Nancy. Any suggestions to increase demo engagement? We've got several tips. Jason, do you want to jump in first?
How to increase them. So aside from the
Oh
ones,
yeah, sorry. Here to finish it off, it shows we have it embedded demo on our website. So
yeah,
it's
we
on
have
our
it
website embedded.
and how to increase engagement. So do
Yep.
you mean like, I'm going to assume you mean we have it embedded on our website now. What are other ways we can get people to that demo? Right.
That's what I'm
Um,
thinking. Yep.
that's right. So that's what I'm thinking. So I think that having it in so like some low hanging fruit, be like, put it in your nav. Or if you have a product drop down and like having a call to action there to take the tour, we see that pretty often. I think that making sure like we have a cool example that I remember we showed in the past where like it might be embedded in is it embedded? It's embedded on your website, but where is it embedded? Right. So is it further down the page or is it like above the fold? So that's always a great one. If you can get that real estate, awesome. Um, or at least have a call to action in your hero that might shoot them down the page to that demo. The other one I'm just going to repeat though is this piggybacking off existing content that you have. So think about where on your site are people engaging with any type of content where the next logical step after that would be, hey, try it out. And think of how you can put your interactive demo right there. And like we said, blog posts, videos, content downloads, obviously other product pages, right? Product feature pages. That's where like getting into specific use case or feature demos is really helpful. And so, yeah, it's how do you make the interactive demo the next logical step uh, for anyone who's interacting with these other parts of your funnel. That'd be my
Yeah, I
thought.
got one more too. If you're not testing it out in ads at all, that might be a really good way to get engagement. I think, in most cases, it doesn't feel like a heavy burden to take one of these 2-minute demos. And so you might be surprised on the engagement you get if you try adding them in ads or do retargeting with them. There's a lot of good options there, I think, from that perspective, and I've seen success when talking to other demand teams who actually use it that way as well.
Nice. That's
All
where
right, that's all the open questions
yeah.
I'm seeing.
Thanks,
Emily,
man.
what do you think?
I think this was such an awesome session. I'm going to throw in the chat as well the link to the DemoDash website because I personally myself went through yesterday and just was like, wow, I need to rethink the way I'm building demos because it's very true. It is like a story. Where like I specifically the notion when you mentioned where we're going back and forth between a Slack conversation with your boss and then, oh, okay, we can do this easily in Notion was so creative and engaging for me that I was just like, wow, one, I am a Notion user. I didn't realize this was possible in Notion today. And it just really keeps you engaged when it's less of a like a feature dump and more of a story. So that was super cool to see. And I just put that link to their site in the chat. So everyone go check that out. Um, we did have a couple questions about different Novatic features as well today. So I'm just also going to put in the chat a little message to say just in general to everyone, if you have any questions on like how they set this up or like what specifically they covered today in terms of like how do I set that feature up in Novatic, please feel free to reach out to success@novatic.com. You can also contact the DemoDash agency to see if they can build something super cool for you. But yeah, we're very open to any questions after today's session and just huge, huge kudos to both of you. This was so informative and we're really grateful for you joining today.
Yeah. Thanks, Emily. And thanks everyone for watching and staying with us the whole time because we love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, tell everyone we're nerds for this. So we appreciate the time and awesome questions too. I was
Yeah. Great
very
question.
impressed with a lot of these questions. And if you ever have, any on the side, our DMs are also open. So
Agreed. Yep.
All
Cool.
right. Matt, we just had the question about the Notion example. I will share the website. It's right on their DemoDash like homepage. So I will reshare that in case it got buried in the chat. And then for everybody else, yeah, I will be in touch with our session recording, and I will also share some of these resources in follow-up.
Awesome.
All
Thanks
right.
again.
Thanks,
Cheers,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a
see
great
ya.
day.
Bye.